everybody, and welcome to another episode of Film Freaks.
Another season.
That's true. It's another season.
Freaks. Wow.
Season, what, 2?
3.
Season 3.
Goodness gracious.
There you go. All right, well.
They're all kind of blending together, folks.
They are kind of blending together, but welcome. Film Freaks, movies that we love.
Movies that we love.
This time we are doing the 1987 Alan Parker film, Angel Heart.
Which I had never seen.
You had never seen before, so
Nope.
How about that?
And
Wow.
I got to watch it on a beautiful Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I would like to see it on 4K at some point.
Oh, God, absolutely. It was a beautifully shot, intricate, deep, well-written, well-directed psycho noir thriller that's got a little bit of everything, including a lot of cringy shit going on.
Cringy.
I tell you, I saw this when this came out in the theaters back in 1987, and most people were just kind of like wigged out. They didn't really know what to make of it. I absolutely loved it from the moment I saw it, and it wasn't just because gorgeous Lisa Bonet is in there, and Mickey Rourke did such a great job.
You said this was before
fantastic.
Barfly, so...
Yeah.
Was this the movie that sort of put him on the map, maybe?
I think it gave people the impression, or it showed that he could be an actor and not just a movie star. Because, he had been in a bunch of other things, but...
Was he in Pope of Greenwich Village before
Yeah,
this?
he was in that, and he was in a few other things. But this movie, this was very, very different. This wasn't like anything that he had ever done before, certainly as a leading man, and it was just amazing, because he's playing kind of two characters at the same time, only he doesn't know it.
Neither does the audience, really.
You're slowly brought into what's going on.
Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Angel Heart.
And it's amazing. I just assumed you had seen it. I didn't know that there were too many people out there that hadn't seen it. It was a big deal.
Hadn't seen it.
For a while.
I mean, I'd heard of it, and I didn't even know, I sort of knew it had something to do with Satan, or I thought it was like demonic stuff or something, which, you can...
it is, but it's not straight ahead. It's not very straightforward. It doesn't do things like that. It's very circumspect about how it treats its subject matter, which is cool. And it's based on an incredibly cool story, Fallen Angel. I forget the name of the guy. I think he's either Swedish or Norwegian, but it was apparently...
The original writer?
The original writer was apparently an excellent book. And
You're saying you might want to actually buy that at some point.
Yes, I think I definitely want to. Back when this came out in 87, there was no Amazon. There was barely an internet. So being able to track that down, unless you bought it, at a bookstore back in the day, it's really difficult to find. But everything that I've researched said that it was a really, really good book, and that this film was a pretty good adaptation. If anything, it's not quite as complex as the book, but it's pretty damn complex as it is. This is not a movie that lends itself well to a simple summation for the plot. But basically what's going on is you've got this guy, Harry Angel, who's played by Mickey Rourke, and he's a private detective in New York City.
Private Dick
in 1955. So you go there, and it's very, very 1950s-ish post-war period, and he's been contacted by a mysterious foreign person by the name of Monsieur Louis Seifier, played by an amazing performance by Robert DeNiro. One of the best I've seen. He's just so good in this.
It says special appearance by him, and usually when I see that means he's just going to pop up
for
one
5
scene.
minutes or something. Yeah,
he was in the whole movie.
He's in just
most. He's a co-star.
He's great, and he's got this long hair, and he's got this goatee thing going on.
The long hair. I've never really seen him have long hair.
Right.
So that was kind of a cool
And the first moment you see him, he's got the long fingernails. He's got this creepy cane that he's twisting around, and you can hear it. And it's just there are so many great creepy scenes with him. He's just like, whoa.
Must have had a lot of fun with that role.
Oh, he must have enjoyed it so much. So he's been hired, and as it turns out, he's been hired to investigate himself. Only he doesn't know this because, of course, Lucifer.
None of us know this.
Lucifer knows what's going on. He knows the whole time, and so he's engaged Harold Angel, who's really Johnny Favorite, to find himself. Only he doesn't know this. So he goes around.
So you said he did this just to fuck with them, basically?
I think so, yeah.
Right? But so he went and he basically used Harold Angel, aka Johnny Favorite, to kill everybody with the body of Harold Angel.
Right.
Or whatever.
It's kind of like him saying, Johnny, you used him for 12 years, now I'm going to use him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So all of a sudden he doesn't know all this stuff? He doesn't remember any of this stuff? Because...
I don't think he's ever remembered any of it. That's why he did the perfect, quote-unquote, disappearing act, because he had amnesia. Because remember, he came back from the war all fucked up.
Well, Johnny Favorite did.
Yes.
But Johnny Favorite wasn't Harold Angel.
But Harold Angel, remember, he also said he got shell-shocked in the war. So the two of them both have memory
I always
issues.
thought Johnny Favorite was black. Was he white?
I think he was white or mixed or something. It was hard to tell.
Did you ever see Johnny Favorite?
You see him in pictures. You see him in black and white pictures, so it's hard to tell.
I don't remember that. Like, there's so much going on. You were saying pay attention. I was trying to pay attention.
I know, man. It's a lot.
There's not, I mean, you noticed I did not go to my phone.
This is a movie that, trust me, gets richer. Every time you watch it, you start picking up more details.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the next time I watch it, I'll be like, oh, okay, now that makes sense.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen this movie. It's been a while, which is why I wanted to do it. But every time I see it again, there's some other little detail. Because, Alan Parker, the way he wrote this and the way he directed this, every detail matters. Every scene matters. Every bit of dialogue matters. It all matters. That's very Kubrickian. That's my kind of film where there's no filler, there's no horseshit, there's no stuff that doesn't matter. It all matters, and it all means something, and it all leads to something.
Yeah, the details matter. And you always say that period about films. Details should matter when somebody does something. And I even said earlier while watching it, like, this movie seems to be like every scene is important to the movie.
Right, it's going somewhere.
Right, because, you see a lot of these movies where some of the scenes are just kind of filler for...
Or they just don't go anywhere, it doesn't matter.
Nothing happens.
Things vanish and never show up again.
Yeah, but every scene in this, is kind of a throwback. So they took a lot of time writing this script. And did you say the director wrote it too?
Yeah.
Okay. So Alan Parker wrote it, and he also directed the film. So he wanted to make sure his vision was completely the way it was, and it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get the impression, without having heard the commentary on the Blu-ray, but I get the impression he must have read this story when it came out, with the book when it came out, and must have fallen in love with it and said, I have got to do this film. I've got to do a film adaptation of this story. And he wanted total control over it. He wanted to write it. He wanted to direct it. And, it's probably one of those labor of love kind of things, because that will happen every now and again. You'll get a filmmaker who finds material that they absolutely adore, and they have to do it.
They have to make it.
Again, Stanley Kubrick will do that. I mean, he's made a lot of movies based on the books of other people rather than writing his own, and he just falls in love with it and says, I have to make a movie based on this.
I wonder if the original writer, because was the original writer probably alive when they were making this?
Oh, yeah, I believe so.
I wonder what he thought of it.
I don't know, and I wonder if they've been consulted. Again, I can't wait to dive into the commentary, because I never really had that before. I had this on VHS when it came out a long time ago.
VHS.
And then I had it on DVD, but it was all sort of like the barest stuff. It didn't really have much of anything else. So this has got commentary from Alan Parker. It's got commentary from Mickey Rourke. I'm dying to hear some of that.
Yeah.
I wish Lisa Bonet was in there too. She was luminous in this movie.
I would have loved to hear Robert DeNiro commentary, but he doesn't do commentary, I don't think, for anything.
Yeah, he doesn't, but what a great conversation I would love to have with him. I'd love to bring this film up.
I'm sure he loves it, because he did such a fantastic job.
Sure.
And you could sort of tell he enjoyed playing that role.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just like his character was so fun and enjoyable. I mean, I liked him a lot.
Fun with a massive side of creep.
Well, and sort of, but only because he kept showing up. Whenever, he kept popping up. Or whatever.
Did you think he was the guy who killed him?
No.
No?
Not at all. I had a feeling that Johnny and Harold were connected. Now, I did not know that. I didn't piece it together exactly. And I should have, because it's sort of a thing now. When this movie came out, it was probably completely brand new. No. People are like, what the fuck? But nowadays, people just take this story kind of thing and oh, okay, now it's, it's the the guy's looking for himself.
But he doesn't know it.
And he doesn't know it. So that I can sort of get with that.
And
but
nobody knows it except for Lucifer.
Uh-huh.
And he's laughing the whole freaking time because he's evil.
He is evil, man. But he was great. I've always said that my favorite Lucifer that I've ever seen in a film was Pellegrino from Supernatural. Just does a really good Lucifer. Just very scary and creepy. And he might have modeled some of this stuff after Robert DeNiro because Robert DeNiro is just creepy as fuck.
He's probably my favorite, with the possible exception. I really did love Viggo Mortensen in The Prophecy. He was super effective.
How about wasn't Harvey Keitel the devil in Devil's Advocate? Mm-hmm. So I need to dive into those things. But
there you go. There's a show. Let's talk about the devil.
Let's talk about the devil. The devil's in the
details.
details.
Presented in different films.
The devil's in the details could be the title.
That would be a fun show, man.
Maybe. There is a lot. I guess
there's a lot, man. Yeah. But so he's sent after himself. He's got to go around and figure out who, quote unquote, Johnny Favorite is. So he tracks him back to this veterans hospital where he meets this doctor who's a junkie who's been paid $25,000 by somebody to pretend that Johnny Favorite is still in the hospital, and he finds out that that's not true, and then the doctor ends up dead. So automatically Harry Angel's like, I went out, now I was just looking for missing persons. Now there's a dead body.
Now I'm a suspect, potentially.
Right. Which, realistic. You don't see a lot of leading characters doing that, which is great. Usually they're like, oh, I'm tough, I don't give a shit. No, he doesn't want anything to do with it. In fact, Luke Souffrier says, are you afraid? Yes. He's very honest. I love that about his character. Mickey Rourke gave this guy so many personal touches in this film. I just loved it. At one point he gets this little nose shield from the geek at the Coney Island thing, and it's goofy, but he wears it all over the place and he enjoys it. He kind of,
you really like that. You really like seeing him keep wearing it.
I love that.
Which actually scared the kid.
Yeah. And I love the thing with the chickens. He had all these little things, and of course they all matter and they all mean something.
What got this thing with fans. Mean?
I don't know if that necessarily meant anything. I think that was just him, a little personal detail for him, which was nice. I'm
wondering if the kid could sense that was like there's something wrong.
There's something definitely going on with the kid.
Yeah, the kid kept screaming and crying.
Because when you think about it, the kid is the son of Epiphany Proudfoot, who is a black magic priestess in their voodoo religion, who ends up possibly being fathered by, she says by the gods, but maybe she already had, maybe it's the product of incest with Johnny Favorite.
Well, at the end he has like the yellow eyes,
right,
or whatever, which made me wonder if he was
maybe
what?
All along.
No, I was thinking that maybe Lucifer was the one who fucked her, because she said she had the greatest fuck in her life.
There you go.
Said whatever, and then and that's how she got pregnant with the kid. It wouldn't be the first time that Lucifer had a kid that, lived on, Like Omen and, all that fun stuff.
Right. But, she definitely has powers because, when he's crying, she's like, stop crying. And that's it. So there's stuff going on. He runs into her after he runs into all these other people. Charlotte Rampling at one point. He runs into the old band leader. He runs into the old guitar player. Most of them end up, if not all of them, end up dead, and he's getting more and more worried that somebody is setting him up, and somebody is. He just doesn't understand that it's himself, and he finally, Lucifer finally shows up and shows him, because he's been having, throughout the whole movie, even from the beginning, he has these little flashbacks, these little memory things. Some of them are memories that he doesn't understand, and some of them are actually premonitions, like that thing with the elevator going down, representing him going into hell. Mm-hmm. He's getting that too. He doesn't understand what that means. Right. We don't understand what that means. Mm-hmm. It's not till the end. Same thing really with the fan. We see the fan going all the time.
We see chickens all the time.
But we don't know what that means. We keep going back to that one image of the woman or two women sitting outside the nun. And again, because when they had the scene, or when the guy was killed originally, there was someone there. And so whenever he sees that, it triggers him.
I'm wondering, so the two guys that are after him, you know, who are like part of the boss or whatever, which is that guy,
Mark's
father. So, like, well, they first come after him when he's in New York, right?
No, that was they're the part of the black congregation because he's trespassing on their church.
That's right. They were black.
And
so
he
black
finds out that they're into voodoo too, which
right.
they want to make sure nobody fucking knows about.
Right.
You know, so yeah, they're going to beat the shit out of him. So they come after him, and he manages to get away. And it's funny, they have that great chase.
You were saying that's how you do a chase, and I was agreeing.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely a great, freaking amazing
Dude,
chase.
He was running his balls off like he meant it, and that was great. It was just so well done.
Yeah.
Everything was really.
And he was
well
like
done.
ducking and going in under fences. And
oh yeah.
He was doing. I mean, which I was like, how the fuck does he know that there's that thing right there to be able to do that?
Right.
Like, he was lucky, you know, which means that it was set up like in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, you know, he's desperate and he's trying to get away, and he's from Brooklyn. You know, he's just not taking any shit.
He's from Brooklyn? I don't know how many times he fucking said, I'm
great.
from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you believe in this? I'm from Brooklyn. Do you speak French? I'm from Brooklyn. Like that was great.
Like, it was a drinking game. Anytime he says I'm from Brooklyn, you drink.
It was cute.
You would get fucking drunk in like 5 minutes.
So it comes to find out this band leader, Johnny Favorite, this singer who sold his soul to Satan in order to get a career, hides himself, tries to pull a fast one on the devil by killing some other poor sucker and taking his soul and trying to hide his soul into his body. But of course, Satan's going to find out about that. And while he was able to cheat death for 12 years, it all comes back. And
now Lucifer wants his soul.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
It's come for his soul, so he, instead of just saying, hey, Johnny, give me, you know,
right.
give yourself up, man. I know.
And he's gonna use him to be his own destructor, which I love.
I know.
And he's telling him, you know, I don't like messy accounts. The thing that was promised me wasn't given, so that's all I'm doing is trying to get what's owed me. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, not knowing that.
Yep.
Oh,
My favorite thing is, either in the church, and Lucifer in a church. I was like, doesn't he just burn if he goes into a church? But he's like in the church, and he's because I knew it was Lucifer, like Lucifer, like, and it's called Angel Heart. Like, right. I'm like, and they say fallen angels, you know. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking Lucifer. But Lucifer is in the church, and he looks up and he's talking to him, and you know, and he's like, oh, you're here for, you know, it's like, oh, I was in Baton Rouge. I felt like stopping by and just checking up on your progress. How's it going, right? And he's like, blah, blah, blah. He was like, do you know this? He was like, no, I don't know that person. I don't know. You know, and I'm like,
right.
I'm like thinking the whole time, this guy's being a complete douche, and he's just like lying and saying he doesn't know these people. That's where I thought it was going to go. Like that he knew where Johnny was, and he was just trying to use this guy to hunt him down so that he doesn't
But he doesn't necessarily know everyone. You know, like he knows the people who, because half of them have gotten involved in witchcraft or voodoo, and so they've either done some kind of thing with him, so he knows them. Whereas some of the other people, he doesn't know.
Well, I'm just saying, I like, just as if this whole thing didn't work, you know, whatever. My idea was that Lucifer was just actually trying to find Johnny, was using this guy to just help track him.
Right.
But he sort of knew around about where it was. Now, that's not the way it is.
Right, that's one level, but we find out as we go deeper.
We find out that he actually knew that Johnny wasn't. Oh man, that was. I mean, a lot of that stuff just like then it just started making sense.
And then it clicks, and then you're like, oh shit.
Now I get it.
And the biggest thing is when he's having, you know, when he gets Evangeline Proudfoot, she's hiding because there's people dropping dead, and then they have a thing because of course they do. And then it turns out, oh shit, that's his daughter. Eek.
The funniest thing is he didn't even seem to like flinch when he came into the room and he saw his daughter dead, and he goes, "That's my daughter." And the guy's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, at that point, it's all finally hitting him who he is and what's going on, and he's like accepted the fact, and he's like, "You're gonna burn in hell, Angel," and he's like, "Yeah." Well, no, he said, "You're gonna burn for this," and he's like, "Yeah, in hell," because he knows it's the jig's up.
The jig's up. He's about to die.
Yeah.
Which we see at the end. He's going down an elevator, which means he's going to hell.
Right.
And then at the end, the credits are done, and he's there.
So well done. Just from the story alone, I can go on and on about this. But let me tell you something about the visuals. The visuals are fantastic. So many scenes in there rank among my favorites. Like just this little scene where he's stuck Fowler into his bedroom, locked him in, so he can't go anywhere, and he wants the guy to remember a name for him. So he leaves him there so he can go cold turkey for a few hours because he wants his morphine. And he goes off and has a cheeseburger, and while he's waiting, usually the thing is to go wide so that you establish that he's in, a diner, and, he's off doing his thing, and he's waiting, and that makes sense. But instead, we go super, super close up, and you can see the counter, and you can see the cigarettes, like a bunch of cigarettes that have been smoked, and you can see the key, the very same key we already saw, and you can see him fingering it and tapping it. So you already can tell, it's giving you the exact same information. He's at this place and time has passed and he's getting anxious and he wants to go back. And then it goes wide and shows you the rest of it. I loved that. I absolutely loved that.
Yep.
He does that on several occasions where, like, instead of showing him going into the ice box to find the morphium sulfate, the thing opens up and you're looking right at the morphium sulfate. You don't have to see him going in there. You know it's him. Just, really cool stuff like that. And then my favorite part was the juxtaposition when he finds Charlotte Rampling's character dead. And, he goes to the place, her apartment, and there's these little kids out there tap dancing in the rain.
Oh, God, yeah.
And you see them and they're tapping, and then he's going up and he finds more information, and then they're tapping. And then he finds her body, and they're still tapping, and then he finds even more, and then, he finds that, he's trying to get rid of all the evidence that he's there. And then the last thing is like he's got to find her heart sitting on top of because he went there to get his fortune cast or written out, and he's got to remove that too, but her heart's sitting on there the whole time. And it goes back to the dancing again. It was just really, really well done.
Yeah, great visuals. Definitely. Who was the cinematographer? Did you?
I neglected to look there. I'm going to have to figure that out. I need to do another deep dive on to who made this film. It was just so well done. And remember, this is the guy who did, he did Pink Floyd's The Wall. He did Mississippi Burning. He did Angela's Ashes. Sir Alan Parker, has done a whole bunch of stuff. He hasn't been very active in the 2000s, unfortunately. I think he's only done a couple of films since then, which is a shame, but you get older, and I'm sure he's in his 70s, if not older at this point.
And I feel like we sort of kind of talked about this ourselves, but this is sort of like a movie that not a lot of people talk about, but like you thought I've seen it, right? Because you thought it was like a classic. Everybody's got to have seen this movie, and I just hadn't. But like, I don't hear enough people talking about it, you know. So I'm very glad we're doing it for Film Freaks because especially in October, like what a perfect month for this,
right.
Sort of thing.
Well, the other thing too is that it was notorious more than famous because of the whole thing with Lisa Bonet getting naked and doing a very, very adult role, and a very, very good job, by the way. She had just left the Cosbys, where she had a very squeaky clean character and a very squeaky clean show.
She got out early. She got out good.
Yeah, and she wanted to do a more adult-oriented role. She wanted to show that she could do more stuff, and boy, did she pick a hell of a role to get into. And she was really good, and God, she was gorgeous. You never see a face like that in your life again. It was just amazing, and really, really well done. She had just enough sympathy for her and pathos, but at the same time, she's not afraid either. I mean, she's scared, but she's not showing it. She's got some sass to her. I love that line where he's like, "Oh, you've got a very beautiful name, Epiphany. Your mom left you a great name," and she's like, "Yeah, not much else."
Right. Got a little sass to her.
She's got a little sass to her, which is really cool. The dialogue was really, really well done too.
I mean, at first she doesn't tell him that Johnny Favorite is her father, and then then later you come to find that out. And more he digs deep, she actually finally tells him.
And she's in the bathtub towards the end singing the song, and the song is the tune that we've been hearing all the way from the beginning, all the way through.
And that's why he asked, like, what is that song?
Right. Harold Andrews himself even played a little bit of it on the piano because deep down inside, he knew exactly what it was. The Harold Angel part didn't, but the Johnny Favorite part did. So it was one of those other little things sneaking through. And I love it because, several times his character looks at himself in a mirror that's been shattered. So it's like he's looking at his own soul that's been splintered and he doesn't recognize it.
It was sort of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing.
Yeah, I see that.
Because he didn't know, like, whenever he would kill, he didn't know he did it. I mean, I don't know if he blacked out or if it just, I don't know if he just didn't know, or whatever.
I think he blacked out.
Yeah, so he'd wake up and he'd be like, oh
repressed
my God,
it.
we're, whatever, it's... But that was so weird because he had left the opiate guy's place and left, like literally left, walked out, went to go get...
That's what we saw.
Okay.
But we didn't see necessarily everything. You know what I mean?
Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't go to the cafe, you think?
Well, I think he went. Remember, we're seeing it. He's an unreliable narrator. So we're seeing things through his eyes, but because the character is repressing certain things, we're not seeing certain things.
Oh, wow.
That's a really difficult thing to pull off. It really is.
I know, because otherwise it's very confusing.
It's very confusing.
Which it probably was to a lot of people.
And a lot of people, what can I say? People go to the movies, they just want to escape. They don't want to think about stuff.
We talked about that before.
Yeah, this is not going to appeal to those kinds of folks. I mean, they might for some things. Like I said, it was a big deal. Everybody wanted to see Lisa Bonet like that, and it's got great performances from Mickey Rourke and from Robert DeNiro. I mean, on that level alone, you can simply enjoy it. But unless you want to put your thinking cap on, this can be kind of a stranger kind of a film. It makes you think. It makes you put pieces together. But it rewards you because if you make the effort, you're going to be like, oh man, this is making sense, or oh wow, the implications are freaking crazy. I love the idea that it all comes back to Lucifer at the end. He's like, yeah, he's known all along.
He's kind of nodding,
playing his games. You get the impression without him even saying that,
I think he
this is not the first time someone's tried to cheat me through the millennia, and everybody thinks they can get away with it, and everybody tries, but nobody succeeds.
I even said something to you, never responded, because a lot of times I would say stuff, and I guess you
don't want to give away anything.
Didn't want to give away anything, but I knew that Johnny Favorite had to sell his soul to the devil for music. And that's even why I was like, are they going to the crossroads? Because in Supernatural, they have like crossroads demons who are like people who you sell your soul to.
Oh yeah, and that's an old blues thing.
Yeah, that's an old blues thing, and there was blues in this movie. So
Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil in order to play the best guitar in the world.
Exactly. And so, what is it? That's like an old like urban legend in the blues world, and you hear all these like devil, you sell your soul to the devil, blah blah blah. Thing. So it was interesting to see this movie because the whole time I'm thinking about some of those other things that came out after this movie and made, and how much like maybe this movie had impacted a lot of films and television shows.
How about the setting? Okay, so automatically the first part of the film is set in New York City, in Brooklyn in 1955. Spot on. I mean, I completely bought every moment of that. But then you have to go back. So he's got to go down to New Orleans in the deep, deep South. And we're talking about a period of time that's even further back. So it might be 1955 in the rest of America. But down there, it's like 10 or 15 years prior to that. It felt like that. Just the way people talked, the way they acted, everything. At one point he's trailing Margaret Krusmark, Charlotte Rampling's character, on a public tram, a trolley. And he doesn't want her to know that he's following her, so he gets on the tram behind her, and then he just nonchalantly sits at a chair, and then behind it you see that there's a thing that says for colored patrons only, because it doesn't even come into his head because they don't have that in New York City. But it's funny because the effort to make himself be not noticed, of course doing that down there, it's going to make you a lot more noticed.
Oh god, and talk about the racism in
yeah.
the South. Like, there's the white detectives.
There's some cringy stuff in here.
And they say terrible words that I won't repeat and stuff about Lisa Bonet's character. And I wanted to punch those guys. Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you're a racist, you deserve to be punched in the face. I'm sorry. If you're
Yeah,
if you're
I
a
hear you.
racist and you're watching this show, then I'm sorry. Then go fucking watch something else. I will gladly say that because I do not tolerate racism in my life. And
It's repulsive.
it is repulsive.
And you got to figure, I mean, again, he did this movie and he did Mississippi Burning.
Oh
Two
god, yeah.
very serious movies that tackle
Race.
racism in American history, and they're both really, really well done.
I know. And yeah, so there you go. So, you know, that was the one thing about this is it was well done how they actually handled stuff that was actually talked about. I mean,
But they don't shy away from anything.
you know, it's funny. Like, nowadays, people get mad if they say the N-word, even if it were, like, you know, what people actually say or whatever, you know? Like, you remember, like, Spike Lee getting mad about that junk? Like, Quentin Tarantino's not allowed to write the N-word?
Well, that's just it. I don't like this idea that certain people are allowed to say it and certain people are not. Either you are or you're not. Now, I've always grown up that saying, you know, you don't say that word. It's a nasty
If it's a
word.
script and it's something that, like...
Right, and it's talking about a period where people would have, then you use it because
Right.
it's real.
Or if it's what a guy, you know, would say in a dialogue, you know what I mean? Like, period. Like, you know, Pulp Fiction had the N-word a lot, you know, because it was coming out of Sam Jackson's mouth. And
Quentin
generally-
Tarantino's.
And it's Tarantino's, but it's like, it's he's not doing it because, oh man, I get to write the N-word, you know?
No, he's not doing it for shock value. He's not doing it to devalue anybody. He's doing it because that's the dialogue that those characters normally do.
Exactly.
And
so
it tells you about their character.
that's what happened a lot in this movie and stuff, and it made me feel like I was transported to that time period.
It's
and
very, very effective.
I really enjoyed that. So even though I didn't enjoy hearing that, I just with that poor dog getting hurt a bunch
Getting
of times.
kicked by the horse.
Kicked by the horse.
The horse
I mean,
getting
I think
shot.
he was alive, but
Chickens getting killed. I mean, there was some cringy stuff
there was
going
some
on.
animal stuff going on there.
Yeah.
I was telling him we have she's been on Film Freaks
Lenore.
before. Lenore would have hated it. You
Yeah.
know, all that stuff. So Lenore, careful watching this movie.
But yeah, and talk a little bit about some of the gore scenes. There's some very effective, very creepy death scenes and gore scenes. You don't see everything, which is probably good. Like you don't see
Well, you definitely don't see the guy who
too
gets
sweet. Yeah,
gets his cock
cut off and shoved down his
mouth.
throat. Eek.
I'm
That's
kind of
pretty
glad.
hardcore.
I'm kind of glad we didn't see that.
Yeah, no. This isn't a Lars von Trier film.
God.
But yeah, no. There's some crazy shit. But I mean, poor Epiphany. I mean, she gets the gun in her yeah. That sucked. Nobody dies well. Nobody. Even Winesap dies off camera, and Lucifer is like he's taking glee in the fact he's like, oh, he died. Terrible. Really awful
Wait a
accident.
minute, I'm confused about her dying though. I'm thinking about it because remember they were having sex and it got really violent.
Well,
or whatever.
he got violent, and then he started to have that memory of him getting killed, and
Right.
it all blurred.
Right.
And then he kind of came out of it.
And then he
Strangling
punched the mirror.
Right.
After strangling her, he punched the mirror. Then he, like the next day, the cops came, and that's when they said all the stuff about her. When did he come back and kill her?
Well, somewhere along the line, Lucifer got into him, and he somehow came back and used his gun on her. But now, it had to have been after he found the dog tags, because the dog tags were on her. Remember when Lucifer picked up the dog tags? It had to have been after that.
Yep.
Because remember, he says, you know, oh, you killed them, but guided by my hand. So it may even be that that's part of the reason why he can't remember, that maybe Lucifer's using him and then also taking his memory away. There is so many layers of this film.
Like blocking his memory. I bet if you read the book, you would know more.
Exactly.
I bet you would know more.
Fallen Angel. That's why I'm dying to get it.
That's an understandable thing because, like, the book probably explained a lot more that they couldn't really Because I mean, I'm very glad that they didn't, because we get really upset generally if we get like exposition man,
Right.
you know, a
Right.
person who just comes in there just to explain, you know, things that the audience doesn't understand, but the writer does, right?
Right.
So the writer's like, it's all in my head. I'll just have this guy explain it, and generally that gets really annoying because you're like, okay, how does this person know this information?
Right.
How does that person know? Like,
Well, and the other good thing that I like about it is, you know, they show, you know, Harold Ramis isn't a dummy. He's smart. He does things very smart. I like the way he approaches things.
like he takes the was it the rags and make sure his fingerprints
Right.
are off of crime scenes.
Right.
That's fucking smart as shit.
Yeah. When he finds out that Liebling / Johnny Faber isn't there, he's looking at the records and he's like, oh, was this done recently? She goes, oh, no, this was years ago. He says, yeah, but they didn't use ballpoint pen back in 1943. She goes, is that ballpoint? He's like, yeah. And it's clearly different. So clearly this has been a forgery. So he knows that. Same thing like when he goes to Margaret Kruzmark and he's trying to find out if she knows Johnny Favorite. And so he gives her Johnny Favorite's birth date for them to look at his chart. And that's when, you know, he starts to, you know, reveal that who he is, which was nice.
It's funny that he did that because that's also a tell for us, the audience, to know that he is, you know, when she's like, oh my God, that's just like my friend's, whatever.
Right.
That's actually really his.
It really is.
Is his
I
birthday.
know, irony.
You know?
Irony. I love
I
irony.
know. He didn't know that, but.
And it's so funny because it's several times she's like, I don't think you'd like what I'd see. You know, because at one point he's given her like a really good line, because he's always giving like these good lines to these girls, and they always come back with something that just cuts them down. It's so funny.
But she said she doesn't like. She was reading his palm, and it probably did say he was gonna die.
Right, or he did die.
Or he did die.
Or something horrible is going to happen. Yeah.
So he must have killed her like right after that, because right after he left or was about to leave or whatever. God damn.
And it's funny because you made that point about, oh, she's a psychic, but she can't see what's going on. And, you know, he even says that, I guess she wasn't able to figure out her own future. And then Lucifer comes back and says the future isn't what it used to be, which is, think about that. That's awesome. Even if you thought you know what the future is, just that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to be. So even if you think you've foretold the future, that doesn't mean it's going to actually happen. That's one of the things. Just because you think you know it, you don't.
No, you don't know the future, period. Like,
right.
None of us do.
Even psychics, supposedly, just because you think you've seen it,
that doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it's going to happen,
right.
And everything, because people do, you know, it got me thinking the other day. I was driving, you know, somewhere, and I was about to pull into like 7-Eleven, and I decided last minute, no, I don't think so. You know, if I pulled into 7-Eleven, you know, that'll be a whole different story for me.
Right.
That'll be a whole different future. But I decided not to do it. I just died in my own future. I said I want to do this. I could have died, you know, at some point or something, because that was the future I decided.
Future Jonathan Moody's going to come back and say, it's a good thing you didn't go to 7-Eleven back then.
Right, exactly. You know, thank God, because that other person died, and you're instead of you, you know, because of that.
Because you just never know. It's like the guy, the millionaire who was supposed to get on the Titanic, and at the last minute he couldn't do it. Saved his ass. You never would have known. You know?
Yeah, that's crazy. You know what?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But like that's true. The future isn't what it used to be, because we don't know what the future is.
And I love Lucifer's character, and he is fucking with Johnny, and he doesn't even know it. You know, he goes to meet him at this one little cafe place, and he's there sipping espresso, as the devil does, and then he's eating these eggs. He's got these
deviled eggs.
Well, they're boiled eggs.
It would have been funnier if they were deviled eggs.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be able to do the wonderful thing with peeling it. So he's talking to him about finding Johnny Favorite when he fully fucking well knows exactly who he's talking to, but he doesn't. And he's like, you know, some religions believe that the egg is the symbol of the soul. Do you believe that? And he's like, oh, I don't know anything about that. And then he's like, would you like an egg? He's like offering him a soul. This is a guy who's lost his soul, found somebody else's soul. We don't know this yet, but he's actually offering it. And for all we know, it could have actually been a real soul. But he turns it down because he's got a thing about chickens. And then he he rolls it on the plate so he crackles, and then he picks it up and he like looks at him like, oh, and eats the soul in front of him like, this is your future and you don't know it yet.
You have no idea. Everything Lucifer says
and does
sort of like affects him, and he has no idea, and the audience doesn't either. And so now after, when we watch it again, we'll know and we'll catch those things. And this is definitely a movie that deserves more than one viewing.
It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious.
Just like The Egg.
And like I said, Robert DeNiro must have loved this character. When he read this, he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to so enjoy this. Because you don't get stuff like this. You don't get too many movies like this that really demands your audience to take a deeper dive into the story.
He's not getting them nowadays.
Yeah, well, yeah, no.
Well,
it's tough. It's tough to get any movie bankrolled these days, but now the people are going to be like, oh, you want the people to think? They don't want to think. They just want to sit there and forget about their miserable lives for 2 hours.
I'm just saying he's old now. Like nobody, like he just does movies for paychecks. Like I mean, he did The Irishman, but like aside from that, a lot of times he just does movies. Because
these kinds of movies are not really being made anymore. I can't think of it. Maybe Memento was probably the last film that was this level of complexity. I can't think of too many others that are out there. Sad to say, it's just not what Hollywood doesn't take any chances. They're just going for what's tried and true and easy, and they're just going for whatever gives them money. They're not really interested in making anything beyond that. So I'm very, very thankful that Alan Parker was able to do this. I can't wait to listen to the commentary, because I imagine he went through a number of problems and a number of battles in order to get this made, even back in 1987. Released in 87, which means it was probably filmed and created in 86. But everything from just the cinematography, the acting. I mean, the acting was great by pretty much everyone. Now, the guy who plays Toot Sweet, I forget his name, it was Desmond something, but he's an actual blues singer from way, way back in the day.
So that's why he was playing the blues at that
right,
point.
Right. He has a few movie credits because he doesn't really act. He's not a professional actor, but he's usually put in these roles. And I thought he was
as like probably a blues guy, right?
Really, really well done. And I love the little details they give him, like the really weird voodoo star on his tooth. That was creepy. That's a creepy little detail, And then Evangeline leaves him the little chicken foot, in order to say, "Shut up! Don't give any more information away." That was really, really cool. All kinds of little bits and pieces, when Angel goes to find him at his apartment, and he comes out with
Evangeline?
Evangeline is Lisa Bonet's character.
I thought that was Epiphany.
Or no, Epiphany. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so it's Epiphany who left that.
Right, Evangeline is the mother whom we never meet. She's dead.
Never meet her. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's and that's baked into the story as well. Back from the novel, there's a poem called Evangeline set in New Orleans about a long lost lover who waits for her lover who never returns, and she dies of a broken heart, and blah 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 blah. So that is all baked into the thing too. So there's just so much going on.
There's so many layers.
Yeah.
And it's sort of funny that the end of the movie is an elevator, and it's sort of like they're going down level and level and level, and that's exactly what we've
been doing the whole movie.
We've been going through Dante's Inferno, basically, of what the fuck is going on here.
Right. The only other thing I can think of that might be kind of close, the other movie that reminds me a little bit is Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder, there's a little bit of that going on in here too, just because you don't really know what's going on, and there's some kind of metaphysical thing going on with the main character, and you don't really quite get what it is till the end, and then it becomes a lot more clear. But yeah, it's just really, really well done. The music was really good. Pretty much everything. I can't think of anything in this that I was like, oh, I wish they had done that. There was one little continuity error when he goes to meet the Louis Cyphier in the church the first time. It's after the dog had bitten him, and he's been limping around, but then when he gets to the church, he just is kind of walking, and his suit is still okay. You know what I mean? So they must have shot that out of order.
Maybe that was, maybe that's the thing of because he's not really who, all this stuff, that maybe the pain kind of goes away, or whatever.
Yeah, but the dog bite marks should still be there. He has that area in his leg.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not limping. He just kind of walks in. I think they just.
But they even mentioned that
by.
he got, what happened? I got bit by a dog.
Well, and that's funny because he was bit by the dog, but not on the hand. He got cut by Toot Sweet on the hand.
Yeah.
But he tells the cop, when he says, "What happened to your hand?" "Oh, I got bit by a dog." He's not lying, but he's not telling him the truth either because that's not where that came from.
Yeah, you can't tell him that Toot Sweet did it because he's not supposed to be connected to Toot Sweet.
Exactly.
So.
And then, he was killed. His original character was killed, was cut open and his heart eaten. Good Lord. And presumably by a straight razor, because you see the straight razor used often throughout the movie too.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you see it on the ground too.
Right.
Like it's kind of curved or whatever.
Right. And then he, some of his little visions that he doesn't know what's going on, where he's there and he wants to ask this one person something and he never is able to actually touch them. Every time he tries, something happens and he
That's
either
him.
wakes up, right, and he doesn't know it. But he's there and he's got this horrible bloodstained shirt. He's got his hand wrapped, because this is like the future angel because he's been cut already, and he starts pressing his hand together. All this blood comes out. And this isn't like fake looking blood. This looked pretty damn real. I remember I first saw that. I was like, oh God, that's awful. The blood effects were really good. Like the chicken blood, that was very believable.
I didn't like it.
Oof, that was believable.
I mean, I liked it, but I didn't like it.
The voodoo ceremony, that was creepy as fuck. That was very believable. The whole being possessed by spirits, which, also ends up having this kind of flashbacks where there's like some kind of weird orgy thing going on, almost like a vision of hell. That was really weird. There's a lot of disturbing imagery and a lot of disturbing stuff going on in this film. It's just a perfect creepy ass thing to watch during Halloween. If you want something more than just, the standard Gur Arg, if you want something a little bit juicier, something to think about, this is a film for you. And especially if you really, really value a really, really well done story, a really, really well directed film with really great imagery, great shot selections, great pacing. You're never bored through this film.
No.
There's always something interesting and cool happening, or visually there's something interesting going on.
Yep.
And that's really difficult. I'm not even sure exactly how long. Was it a 2-hour movie?
It was like an hour and 45 minutes.
45 minutes, but it felt good. We go through movies where it's like, God, I wish they'd chopped this out or done that. You didn't have to do a damn thing for this.
I mean, I think generally for the movies we pick for Film Freaks, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Because, I mean, they're movies we love or movies that are just really good or, whatever that kind of take you into this, world. And you're in this world. I mean, you're in Brooklyn for a little bit or whatever, like in New York, and then you go to Louisiana and you're in New Orleans
and Coney Island. Don't forget we were on Coney Island.
Yeah.
That was fun. With Izzy, the rat head biter, and his wife standing in the freezing water because of her varicose veins.
God, that was so weird.
I know.
That's such a weird scene. That's where he gets the nose guard from.
And you get to see the Wonder Wheel. I love seeing the Wonder Wheel. That's a classic.
That was a classic. It was fun to see that in the background.
And in Coney Island, that's probably exactly how it looked in 1955 too. So that was well done.
Yeah.
Whoever scouted this film, they did a great job. There's one scene where he's just coming into New Orleans at this train station, and it looks like a perfect train station from 1938. It was just spot on, perfect. And the very first thing he does is he takes off his coat, and you can see these big, giant sweat marks because it's freaking humid and hot down in the South. Everything.
So they did all of it. All the locations were wonderful. Sets, you were enjoying the sets, while we're watching it. I mean, there's just so much to take in, but it is a Hollywood film, so it's not like
Hollywood film done right. Done right. They paid attention to the details. I love in the beginning. First thing, he gets his phone call, Harold Angel, the detective, and he goes to write some notes, and he opens up his drawer. Just a simple thing, right? Except when he's going to get his pad and paper, you see the gun, you see a half dozen different fake IDs, you see all kinds of stuff. You see a key for handcuffs or stuff. It's telling you all kinds of things about what this character is and what he does and who he is. And it's wonderful. You don't have to spell out, I've got a gun and I've got this and I've got that. You see it without ever having to have to refer to it or waste a scene. There are no wasted scenes in this film.
Like I said, every scene meant something to the next scene, or at least for the rest of the movie, you know. So I just really enjoyed it. It was just a fun, it was like for my first time, and like I said, I didn't know anything. Like I think I knew something about Lucifer. That's it, you know, or whatever. Like I knew it had something to do with that, but that's it. Like I didn't know that this was going to be like it is, you know. And I'm one of those people that just I don't try to guess what's gonna happen. You know, there's those people that you hang out with, and they're like, "Oh, I know what's gonna happen. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen." Movie, yeah. And I'm like, why? Even if it does happen, why are you telling me this?
Right? Why are you spoiling it?
Like, why are you spoiling it without? Well, I don't know what's gonna happen. Well, you're guessing. You're making these like assumptions anyway, and then you might be right. And then what's the fun in that?
Right.
Me, I
keep it
always,
to yourself.
Even just the idea, like, don't think like that way. Like, just enjoy the movie. Then, you know, at the end, you can be like, oh, you know, be surprised a little bit, you know?
Well, it's cool because I was picking up on some of the comments that you were making throughout the thing. So you were saying things like, I wonder who did the music, or I wonder who did the photography. So to me, that means you like the music and you like the DP work that was done.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Music was really good, very effective, very creepy, and they layered in this beating heart thing that was going on. Or they would layer in like screams when the creepy fan was always creaking.
You always hear a creaking fan.
Oh man, yeah, there was just really good details, good touches, you know.
It's definitely one of those movies we were talking about earlier, but that you have to put your phone down and watch. This isn't, you know, you can just hear it in the background while you're doing something else.
Jackie's not going to like this.
No, well, I mean, yeah, Jackie probably won't like it.
No.
I don't think she'd like it because it's too. I mean, it's kind of scary a little bit.
Sure,
like
it's scary. It's disturbing.
I mean, I wasn't scared necessarily, but I could see people that don't like horror films being
sure,
like, oh my
you
God.
could be easily discomforted from this film.
You know, yeah, it's not a fun, especially when it comes to that religious kind of stuff. A lot of people believe this shit, you know. So I mean, not shit, but you know what I mean.
Right.
People believe this, and they think that, you know, like something like this could happen or whatever. Which I mean, I don't know. I'm religious, but I'm not. You know, I'm more spiritual, and I believe that. I like to believe that there's a Lucifer because that's sort of fun. You know, like there's the funness of like, if Lucifer was alive, would he be a dick or would he be?
Would it be fun that there's really is an evil God who's destroying our souls and trying to destroy the universe?
Right. I mean, why not?
Well, I get it. I mean, the world is more fun if you think ghosts really exist and witchcraft really exists and monsters really exist and vampires really exist. You know, they don't. There's no evidence for any of it, but, you know, that's just
until
me.
he finds out scientifically that it's true.
Right, yeah.
You know, which he will one day.
You know, and that's the great thing about science is that when the data presents itself, you can then change your conclusions. It's pretty cool about that. But I still enjoy it, even if I don't necessarily believe it. That doesn't mean I can't enjoy a really good horror film that's supernatural. You
love supernatural movies.
love it. I love anything that's mythical or that sort of goes into that darker area.
He doesn't like real shit, like serial killers who are actually.
There's enough
like,
of that.
Sort of
We see that all the time.
Oh, you know, but in the news too, like it's a real thing. So.
But you know, I like the stuff that humanity is too afraid to really talk about. The dark corners and shadows of our past that we don't like to get involved with, that we've never had explanations for, that we're frightened about, even today.
In a movie like this, it's not just like it's more than that too. There's a lot of layers, just like you know, peeling off that egg. There's a lot of fucking layers.
And what I really dig, especially even if you're a believer or not a believer, it doesn't really matter, I guess. I mean, this movie questions faith. What good is your faith? You know, even if you believe, Lucifer can just walk into a church.
Yeah, that's what I was
do his
thinking.
thing. So it's not helping you. It's not helping any of these other people.
Yeah, Lucifer's just hanging out with everybody in the church, and he's telling the guy to watch his language, and I thought that was hilarious.
Right. So scary. You can have faith. It ain't gonna help you necessarily, but you can have it. It can make you feel good. But in the end, Lucifer's gonna get his soul, and there ain't a damn thing that you can do about it.
Oh.
You know, and you know the flip side of that that's not spoken is God ain't gonna help you either. Because guess what? You made that stupid deal.
Yeah.
And now you're stuck with it.
Well, you made the deal. Like, if you didn't sell your freaking... Actually, no. It's not necessarily... I mean, Johnny made the deal. And he killed poor freaking...
he killed everybody involved.
Harold.
Right.
You know...
Harold is the victim in all this.
Yeah. And now Harold thinks he's living whatever, but he's really Johnny. And... So it's just, it makes me wonder about it, like, because like most of the time he's Harold, he's not Johnny,
right?
But he is Johnny.
The way I think it works is that Lucifer already has Harold's soul when Johnny sacrificed him, so he's already got that one. You know, it's just that that's not the one he was promised initially, so he wants the one that he was promised.
He was promised. Johnny.
He likes having the other one, sure. And he's going to use it to get what he wants. But he wants, you know, like he says, I've got old-fashioned ideas about things, you know, eye for an eye, that kind of stuff.
So hold on.
Great line.
So did he steal that guy's soul? Did he kill Harold and steal his soul?
He killed him and tried to, I guess, substitute it and say, you needed a soul, here's a soul.
So then Harold is definitely the...
Innocent.
The victim
yes.
here the whole time.
Yes.
He's
the innocent victim.
Yeah.
And everybody else who died either had some kind of collaboration with the devil.
You know what I'm mad about now?
Or their collateral damage.
Then it shouldn't have been Harold coming down the elevator. It should have been Johnny.
Well, it's Johnny, but he's wearing Harold's
I know,
body.
but I'm saying it should have been Johnny himself. Like the guy, it would have been cooler if at the end of the movie you saw the real Johnny going down the elevator.
Or at least you saw the two of them, like it would like go back and forth.
Oh.
You know, that would be even cooler.
Because they were doing it like they would do credits, then they would show you him. They do credits, they show you him.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool. That would have been a neat little thing. I don't know. You said that Johnny, I don't even remember the Johnny being in the pictures or whatever. But
once he was in one picture.
I know, like I don't remember that.
Told you, you gotta pay attention, man.
No, I was paying attention. I don't know. I guess I just never picked up on it.
Watch this movie a few more times. Trust me, you will start picking up all kinds of details. Believe me, I love that about movies. Certain movies will do that. Shining. I still watch The Shining over and over and over, and I still pick up details in that film. I love that. Mm-hmm. I love when a filmmaker goes to that length to go to such degree to put details in there because the story matters, because the characters matter, because everything matters. I love it when things matter. When filmmakers are fully invested in their films, I become fully invested as somebody who's watching it. And that's the kind of movie that I treasure and will buy, whether it's on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whatever. This is a movie I'm gonna keep collecting and have every version of, you know.
Right. It needs a 4K, so you can see all the visuals completely.
And that's interesting because at this point I don't know who owns the rights to it. So I don't know whether this will ever be a Blu-ray. I kind of hope it is.
It is a Blu-ray.
Lionsgate.
It's a Blu-ray.
Yeah, I mean a 4K. I mean, are Lionsgate doing Blu-ray or 4K releases?
It might be.
You know, I don't know. But then, did they do this originally, or did they do? I think
they bought it.
Yeah, they probably bought it and released the Blu-ray.
Because Carlico made it, so I don't know if because they made it in '80. Was even Lionsgate even around in the '80s?
No, not that early. I don't think.
I think they came in later, so
they
must have bought it. You know how it would be great to see like Shout Factory or Scream Factory,
Kino
one of those
Lorber, or
things.
somebody
put out a 4K version of it or something, because it would.
Especially if we could get
Criterion.
Even this is Criterion worthy. Trust me. But I would love to see even more, like a more modern set of.
And Criterion are
stuff.
doing 4Ks now, so this
would
be a perfect thing for it.
Yeah, and by the way, this was 113 minutes, so not quite 2 hours.
Not quite 2 hours.
But it was close. I'm gonna tell you,
it was an hour and 45.
It was
might have been
tight.
an hour
It was
and
a
50.
tight 113 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
they did not waste anything.
Nope, nothing was waste not, want not.
And I like how you put it, where you are temporarily put into this world, and you want to be there. I always love movies where, like, you know, you just want to be in this world. And unlike a lot of movies where you like want more, this one told its story, and it goes full circle. There is no room for anything else.
There's not a sequel.
There's no sequel in this,
No.
and it would be a very poor choice if someone decided to do that. This story was completely told from beginning to end, and there's no reason to go forward into that. And I get it. You want to see more.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, most film noir movies don't need sequels.
Right. There's another good point, is that this is very, if you like film noir, this is definitely very mash-up horror film noir.
Yeah.
And it's set in 1955, which is like the height of film noir, the 40s and 50s. You know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, a lot of layers to this film, a lot of good stuff. Just, you know, and again, some of the best film noirs have, you know, things revealed later, double tricks and plot twists and all kinds of weird
Plot
stuff.
twist.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of plot twists in this movie. So, like, things just kept coming, you know, and you're just like, wait, what? As I said before, more will be revealed, and that's that's pretty much the whole thing of this movie was more kept being revealed. The more you watched it, the more, you know, you were intrigued into, like, what the fuck is going on.
And even though you had to work for it, it rewards you, which is one of the best things.
I don't think you had to work for it. You just had to, like,
some
sort of had to pay attention, but, like, that should be any movie, you know.
Should be, but, you know, like I said, you know how folks are. They just want to, some people just want to show up and just not think for 2 hours.
And, you know, that's fine, too. There are movies for that. I mean, but thank God there are movies like this.
I mean, you could do that with this. You could go just purely on visuals alone and be just fine.
Yeah.
But you're going to miss out on a lot of
You're going to miss out
stuff.
on a lot of story stuff that, like, really would, you know, really would intrigue you.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely adored everybody in it. I thought everybody did a great job. I thought the director and / writer was fantastic. Cinematography, editing, editing especially, like some of those shots, like getting edited together was just
very effective.
Fucking, I mean, it was amazing. I feel like more people, as I said before, I think less people are actually talking about this movie that should be talking about it.
Should be.
You know, so. I
kind of wish we had had a third guest here that we could have turned someone on to, because, you know, like, I guarantee you Paige has never seen it. I guarantee you Lenore's never seen it. You know, somebody young who's never seen this, who doesn't know what to expect, to say, this is the way really good movies used to be made. It doesn't really happen so much anymore, but back in the day, if you were lucky, this is what you could expect. And on one level, it's very frightening and very disturbing, but on the other level, it's a great fucking story and a great fucking movie, and it's just wonderful.
Exactly.
And I don't know what else you could do for Halloween that's not more than this. I mean, it's not just the boogeyman, but it's something a little different, something a little deeper.
Scarier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the boogeyman under your bed, but it's definitely somebody who, you know, because I think a lot of people think about, like, you know, somebody must have sold their soul to the devil to get famous or to get that, you know, like that's a constant, like, real, like, urban legend kind of story that people talk about. And I feel like this movie does it so well where it you know, like, it feels like it was supposed to be.
Right,
you know?
right. And, you know, it's a classic trope of selling your soul, but even more classic is the guy who tries to cheat and tries to get away with it, and it never works.
No, because the devil knows what's going on.
Yep, smart as you can be, he's always 10 steps ahead of you.
He's the devil.
Exactly.
He should know everything. It's like trying to beat God, you know,
it's
or
not
whatever.
Gonna happen.
You know, yeah, God knows what you're gonna do next, and the devil does too.
Right.
You know, so he's just kind of laughing about it, you know, or whatever. Like, he even gives him a way out too at one point. He's like, "You want out? I'll give it to somebody else, and they'll find the." Which I would have loved to see that story too.
He knows that ain't gonna happen.
Well, of course he does, because he's the devil. But I'm saying, I would have loved to see that story of him going, "You know what? Screw this. Fuck this. I'm out." And then them going, "All right, we're gonna have to entice him somehow."
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Or we're gonna have to give it to somebody else, and then have them find him, and then him go, what? And then it just everything, right? Like, it could have gone so many different ways, and I'm glad it went the way it did, because I'm glad we got to, see this detective basically go around and look for the clues and, find out what's going on.
And I'll even go you one point deeper. This movie is almost suggesting, and I have to go back and read the source material for this, but it's almost suggesting that Lucifer is so powerful, he's almost like God. It's like God and Lucifer are the same.
I mean...
because he knows already everything that's going to happen.
Right, no, but... Okay, so in the mythological, whatever, you want to call it, stuff, the religion, so Lucifer was a fallen angel, right? They even talk about that, right? So, and that's what the original title was, fallen angel, right? So Lucifer was a fallen angel who fell from heaven because he disagreed with the way that heaven was being run. He wanted to be in control. He didn't like whatever. So he got banished to hell to live eternity, to kind of whatever. And maybe there's some talk about how the devil's not really, or the devil and Satan and Lucifer are all different things. It's not the same person. Lucifer's just he's not, well, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But anyway, the point is he's sort of also the one. Like, if you read Job, the book of Job, it's really fucked up.
I know.
The book of Job,
yeah,
right?
It's one of the most fucked up stories there is.
Yeah, where he's like, they're like, oh, let's torture this guy.
And it's been changed multiple times.
Probably.
You have to go back and read the original source.
It's probably more fucked up.
It is more fucked up because God doesn't give him all his shit back.
Oh. Well,
yeah, he just says,
it's
I'm God, he can suffer and live.
Version.
And I can get away with it because I'm God. That's that didn't sit well, so later it was changed because people were like, hey, that sucks.
Yeah, so but you see, like, Lucifer and Lucifer and God were sort of together. Satan and God were kind of together talking. So obviously they have some kind of communication to each other, right? Mm. And God says, like, look, I get all the good people, the people who do good, and you get all the bad people. And then the devil supposedly comes in forms of different ways to tempt you. Anytime you're tempted by the devil to do bad things. So if you're going to go steal from somewhere, that's the devil saying in your head saying you should go steal. And if you steal, that's the devil controlling you to do that.
Yeah, and it's I forget the name of them, but they're as old, if not older, than Christianity, but their beliefs are that
the Gnostics?
The Gnostics. There is no God, there is no devil. The universe was created and then those beings left. And the only thing that's left is what's called the demiurge, which is a demon. And the demon sort of has created this veil that makes you think everything that you see, this reality, is false. And that there's this other reality behind in the shadows. And that's really what's going on. And all this other stuff about Satan and God and all this stuff was a myth created by humans to try to figure out what's going on, but it's not true. And people who find it out the hard way and go nuts. And it's pretty cool but weird stuff. Gnostics, if you go into some of that deep stuff,
that kind of sounds too like too
it's
freaky.
Deep. It's very freaky. But Lovecraft, did a lot of stuff with that and sort of created his own mythos based on that. And there's a lot of really cool, creepy stuff that people don't want to think about.
Yeah, which this movie does. Like, when you're saying that God is as powerful as Lucifer, they're not the same thing. It's not like they're the same, but they, in a way, have the same powers. Like God could just, supposedly just go like this, everything's fixed.
But when does that ever happen?
He doesn't. But then there's the whole free will thing.
But then there's the whole thing with Satan. Satan, at least Lucifer in this film, you notice he's not killing anyone himself. He's not directly involving it. He is. He's directing him to do all this stuff himself.
Without letting, he's the puppeteer. He's the one running.
Pull the strings.
He's pulling the strings.
That's right.
And
so on the one hand, there's limits on his power. On the other hand, you get the impression he freaking enjoys doing
Yeah.
that. That makes it even more fun. He's in his role, and boy, does he enjoy his role. So many levels, so many things you could talk about with this movie. It's great.
Oh man, I know. We could probably talk for another hour, but
I know.
probably
Probably time for us to wrap up.
It's time for us to wrap up, but we really, really did enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Considering I had never seen it before, this was a first watch for me.
That's great. That was an extra.
Yeah, he thought this was
star.
just another time to watch it and whatever for me. And nope, it was an extra thing for him to be like excited about.
And I love that when I find a movie that I really love and somebody else hasn't seen it and I show it to them and they love it too. That's great. I love that.
We do that a lot with like Criterion Watch, and sometimes, well, a lot of times me and you have been doing a lot of film freaks where we both have seen the movies or whatever. On Dark City, I think we had both seen it or whatever at one point.
Love Dark City.
And things like that, yeah. I mean, season 2 is damn good.
It's another movie that has a lot of stuff that makes you think.
So season 3 is going to be, you're going to see us back to back doing episodes, him and me. It'll be him, then me, and we're going to do these at the studio most likely.
And sometimes we'll have people with us, sometimes we won't. It kind of depends.
And maybe we might do some on Zoom because, we might want to get somebody who, we can't get into the studio to come do to do the show with us. So, but mostly we want to do it in the studio because this has been what we started it with, and this is how we want to keep going. And now that I'm back in Virginia, why not?
Sure. Make use of the studio.
Make use of the
Gotta
studio.
show off the cow.
And the Film Freak sign.
Yeah.
But you can't really see the TV
That's okay.
part.
But thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Film Freaks. Welcome back for those of you who have seen this before, and welcome to the show, those of us who are seeing it for the first time.
Especially if you're like a really big fan of Angel Heart and you just want to see two people just go on and on.
Finally talking about it.
And leave us your comments. What did you think? Did you agree with us? Did you think we were wrong? Was there something that we left out?
Yeah, and if you've got other ideas about the story and about the characters and other things that we didn't think about or touch on, please let us know. I'd love to hear it.
Yes, so also check out sickflickproductions.com, indiefilmcafe.reviews, indiefilmcafe.poppy.com, and if you want to throw us a buck and help us out, you'll get a Patreon-only podcast from Patreon for $1, so patreon.com/Indie Film Cafe.
Outstanding.
So, very much appreciated. We'll leave all the links down below, and please give us a thumbs up if you liked it, and pass us on if you know somebody who is a fan of Angel Heart or just wants to hear a little jibber jabber. I mean, we spoilered the hell out of us, so
doesn't matter. You'll still love this film.
Yeah, you'll still love it once you see it. You'll be like, oh crap, that's really cool. So thank you guys for checking this out. Enjoy it and have a good one.
And we will see you on the next episode.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.